When you size up the SUV market, you can go big, you can go small, or you can go somewhat in between. This particular market, there's been one I've been keeping my eye on. Hey, welcome to this edition of Road Warrior. I'm your host, Grant Roberson. Now behind me is the 2016 Jeep Cherokee. Now not the Grand, of course, but the Cherokee. Now we've seen this years ago, more of a box-like model. Of course, with evolution, we've got this behind us. If you want to see the evolution of the SUV market, you really start here at the Cherokee. Now the old school version, that shoebox-like design, pretty much straightforward. Now that was the trend back then. Now the difference with that versus this model, well, obviously is on the exterior. The other part really is in the durability and the quality of the vehicle. What I remember from the old Cherokee, well, it's a lot of flimsiness. Felt like you were riding in maybe a tin cup. Now what you see here is a lot more durability, really starting right here at the door. With every solid close, it just feels stronger. Now this Cherokee obviously is not as rugged looking, a little bit more sleek. It's going to help you blend in with the urban driver. Now on the outside, pretty much body color all the way around on this vehicle. A little bit of chrome accents, which I like on any small SUV. You don't want to bling it out too bad. Up top, just a little bit more of a brushed accent. Looking at the four corners, what you're going to notice is a little bit of chrome, bringing the only bling to this vehicle. What you're also going to notice is the upgraded 18-inch wheel. That versus the standard 17-inch version. Now, what I like about this vehicle, even though it is somewhat small, slightly crossover-ish, is it is still a somewhat rugged SUV. And where you see that is right here in the ground clearance. Now, what you're going to notice is that's going to be around about 8.7 inches, easily riding with the big boys, because with that ground clearance, you can easily go off-road, specifically when you couple with the four-wheel drive system. I'll show you in a minute. When you swing around to the front to look at the grille warfare, first thing you'll notice is the 7 slots, making it the typical front end for any Jeep. Now what I really like is they bend just a hair, really accentuating this front end. Now they're adorned in chrome, giving a little bit more bling. And on this vehicle, this is very limited across the whole entire layout. Now what you're also going to notice is a 3-stack kind of headlight assembly. Up top really is more of an adornment, reflector-like illumination. It's not there to really sweep around the curves, but really illuminate the front end. As you sweep down, now that's going to be your headlight assembly. Really tucked down a lot lower than I expected versus it being higher up here on the haunches. Now when you look really low, of course that's the fog light tucked really down low in all that nice fascia. Now the whole front end is really wrapped in body color, and you have a nice lower air intake down low with a little bit more brushed chrome up front as well. Even though this is a mid-sized SUV, it has big size like safety features, and where you're going to notice that is right here up front. First thing is the parking assist sensors. These little circular emblems we see in a lot of vehicles help you dive into the tight spots. Also, this radar-like sensor here. Now what that does is work with the adaptive cruise control, allow you to get into traffic, set it, it's going to handle everything else for you. Now all this combines also going to have that forward collision alert, really helping you, kind of prevent scrapes, dings, and even kind of big accidents. Now this is my one area of weakness, really popping the hood and kind of really working on anything. But one thing I like when I see this engine is it's right there where you want it, nice and in the open. And if you do want to work on it, it looks really accessible. Now what's great with this particular model is it does come with the bigger engine, specifically the 3.2 liter V6, and it does have the stop start technology. Now as for horsepower, it's going to be around about 271 with 239 foot-pounds of torque. It is coupled with a 9-speed automatic transmission. Now if you do want a little bit more scream under the hood, you can equip the model with a 2.4 liter Tiger Shark inline 4-cylinder. That's going to deliver only 184 horses and 171 foot-pounds of torque. Now when you look at the overall numbers, the Cherokee falls really square dab in the middle of the mid-size market, around about 182 inches overall, wheelbase around about 106. Now those are good numbers, and where it really translates is on the inside, again with decent cargo, but really that legroom we'll get into in a minute. Sweeping down the side of the vehicle, first thing to talk about is safety here. Now what you're going to have is blind spot awareness on this particular model, little orange indicator, really allowing you to know when vehicles are there, and of course when they pass by, it goes away. Now another thing to talk about really is the smart key systems. Now this is really allowing you to leave your key in your pocket and pretty much forget about it. Now what it also allows you to do is quick ingress, and what I like is the fact that Jeep does it well. The way it works is pretty much put your hand here, it knows you're there, open it right up. Now if you want to lock it away, pretty much press this button and forget about it. Now as you sweep down, the security is going to sweep on down here to the fill-up area. Now talk about this, it may be overkill, but what I like is when security really locks this away, and of course we're going to find it here on the Jeep. Now one thing to note, well, it doesn't relate to any unlocking of the vehicle. Instead, it actually has a press button there on the door that pops this open. Now once this is open, you are going to find the old cap system versus the capless, which a lot of vehicles are going to. Swing around to the business end of any SUV, really the cargo area. This is where it has to shine, because after all, it can handle the people, it's got to be able to handle their things. Now, looking at the design, first thing you'll notice is really a nice broad sweeping rear glass, really the design coming around even to the rear haunches. Now, it has a nice built-in rear spoiler, even a shark fin for the antenna. Now, what you're going to notice with this glass is it really doesn't pop open. Pretty much all the SUVs really are coming with a fixed glass. Now, what would help here is if this did pop open, allowing kind of for longer items to swing out into this area. Now, when you sweep down, what you'll also see is pretty much a tight body. The good old front and rear bumper are long gone, really keeping everything nice and tight. Now, what I like on this particular model is it has a power rear hatch. Now, where that comes in handy is pretty much you got your hands full, you can simply make it easier. Now, there is a button here on the key fob, but there's also one here on the rear hatch. And where you find that is pretty much right across the center. Now, don't be scared. There's a little button that's going to lock the car, but pretty much right in the middle, you press it there, it's going to rise to the occasion. With the rear hatch open, one thing I really like is the height you get here. Really with the nice arching here, allows even my 6-foot+ frame to squeeze in easily. Now with it open, what you're going to notice is a vast opening here, really to slide anything inside. Now by the numbers, what you're going to see is around about 25 cubic feet of space, really rivaling other SUVs in this market and easily exceeding the standard sedan. Now what you're also going to see when you lay the rear seats flat, around about 50+ cubic feet, easily doubling the amount of area you have. And with that split rear design there, you can transform this from cargo to people real easily. When you dive into the cargo area a little bit deeper, what you're going to notice is this nice net here. You put items in there, it's going to help them from slinging around. Now when you don't need that, simply take it down. That's going to give you a little bit ease of sliding things in here that may be a little bit bigger. Now for the cargo floor, what you're going to notice is this nice padding protector here, nice rubber underneath, really allowing you to put maybe even wet items there, not getting all the way down to the true carpet. Now what's even better is what's underneath this cargo floor, and what you're going to find is a nice full-size spare there when you need it. Looking over here at the left side, one thing you'll notice is this steel bar assembly. Now I didn't really research this much, but I did notice this little cargo niche area. Now if you pull this handle, it will come off, and I'm assuming it's there in case you want to store items, maybe keep it vertical, or maybe at the minimum keeping things from slinging around. Now one thing about the power hatch, instead of finding the button actually on the power hatch, you're going to find it here on the left side. Now what's great is that's an equalizer for any tall or short individual. One big mental block I have is really taking a smaller SUV and trying to think, well, it's a little bit bigger than I realize. And where you see that is on the inside. Now, what's great really is the legroom numbers. What you're going to find is 41 inches up front. The second row only dropping an inch to around about 40 inches. Now, what does that mean? Well, pretty much this vehicle feels a lot larger on the inside. Now, this is the Overland model, and where you see that also is on the inside, really with the nice leather appointments, really everything feeling so much more plush, making this vehicle feel far from small and really big time attitude. Once you get past the overall comfort in this vehicle, the next thing you'll notice is the huge touchscreen system there on the dash, specifically an 8.4-inch Uconnect system. Now, we've used this before, and we like the fact it has this nice menu select down here, really navigate with ease. Now, there's one thing to note for 2016, and what that is the customability of this down here. And what you do is you go to the U apps here, pretty much going to bring you to the home screen of all the apps and all the different settings on this vehicle. And what you can do is simply click on something you want to have as a shortcut, drag it down here, and let go. This is going to allow you to accommodate what you want down here versus what Chrysler thinks you should have. Down low on the dash, what you're going to find is two knobs, really one for the volume for the stereo and one for the tune select. Now they're kind of lower and easier to reach for the driver versus the touchscreen system, a little out of reach for these type of controls. Now below that is the climate control, and I like the fact we have dual zones. Now all this is really going to relate to the screen up above, and of course there's a shortcut if you want to use it. The real feature I like is the fact you have this oversized knob for fan speed, something you want to do on a hot day. I briefly talked about the start-stop technology on this vehicle, and where you're going to find that is right here. Now this vehicle automatically shuts down when you're at like a stoplight or a stop sign, really shuts off the engine to supposedly save gas. Now that to me gets very annoying and somewhat startling, so what I like to do every time I start the car is hit this button to turn it off. Now this is going to be the nerve center for the driving, really coming right down to the gear shifter, nice and oversized. And I like the fact that when you set your arm on the center console, your hand naturally fits. It's not too short, not too tall. Now if you want to, you can put this in a sport mode. I know this is a V6, but I pretty much keep it here, standard procedure. Now what you're gonna find here is a little bit of connectivity, nice power supply, SD reader, USB supply, and auxiliary jack. Now also over here is your four-wheel drive systems. Now to note, Jeep does have the Active Drive 1, the Active Drive 2, which you see here, Active Drive Lock, and the Trail Rated. Now pretty much what all that means is the vehicle is going to know what you want to do, and depending on which level, just takes it to the next system. Now what you're going to also find here is the ease of someone like me, a novice. If you want to go in snow, just dial it in. More sports, sand, pretty much all this is kind of idiot proof. Put it there and forget about it. One feature that may kind of bring the light in is, well, right above you, a huge screen that hides a huge glass. Now this is a 2-port system, pretty much going halfway at first touch. Hit it again, it's going to open it wide open. Now it's going to let a lot of light in, give my bald head a little bit of a tan. Now you can, of course, add a little bit more airflow by taking the first half back. Now it does for this edition of Road Warrior, a test drive behind the wheel of the 2016 Jeep Cherokee. Now this is far from whence it came. No longer we are squared off design, but instead a nice durable model. Now what we really liked is the plush interior, nice leather appointments, a decent power plant under the hood, and even cargo to boot. But after all that said, we had great four-wheel drive prowess. Now as always, thank you for watching this edition of Road Warrior. Keep both hands on the wheel and eyes straight ahead.